Jung studied the Yoga Sutras.
Yes, he did. He absolutely did, and he gave lectures on it, actually.
And he also seemed very much to be in admiration of that tradition.
He found a lot of parallel evidence to his own, what he called the individuation process, the psycho-spiritual development of the personality. He found a lot of parallel evidence in those Eastern cultures, both Buddhism and yoga.
As I recall, you maintain that Jung misinterpreted some aspects of Patanjali.
He felt in the end that Eastern intuition had overreached itself, that consciousness that isn't associated with an ego was what he and Freud and the depth psychologists termed the unconscious. So in the end, he parted, even though he found parallel evidence, he didn't stick with these traditions as the most influential. He turned to alchemy and Taoism, actually.
In other words, well, you say Taoism, which is a Chinese form of spirituality, but he emphasized the working with the archetypes, with the mythological structures of the unconscious. And we don't find that in the Yoga Sutras, do we?
We don't. I question whether when Patanjali speaks to Ishvara, which is the supreme Purusha, omniscient, I'm wondering if we could look at that from an archetypal perspective. I'm not sure that we can, but maybe we can.
Yeah.
Also in Mahayana Buddhism, they speak to the Tathagata text, which is the fact that the Buddha seed is in all of us. So that idea of a seed is sort of like an imprint, right? Archetypes are about imprints. I think we may be able to find some similarity there, but not directly, no.
And you referred in an earlier interview to the emphasis on dreams in the Yoga Sutras. Let's go into that a little more.
There's one sutra where Patanjali speaks to looking at dreams or the deep dream state as a possible means of stabilizing the mind. He gives so many options. Yeah.
And what does he say? How do you do that?
He doesn't.
Well, I know that in the Tibetan tradition, there's what they call the dream yoga.
Yes, I think it's much more explicated in that tradition. Patanjali just gives one sentence and says this is one possible means of stabilizing the mind.
I mean, Freud, for example, wrote the classic book on the interpretation of dreams.
It's very big in depth psychology, dream interpretation, absolutely. Yes.
But we don't find dream interpretation in yoga traditions.
Well, just in that one brief sutra, it doesn't really give the detail.
You know many yoga teachers. Do any of them practice dream interpretation?
I don't know too many teachers, actually, that look at the philosophy that Patanjali wrote out, and look at all the methodologies. No.
All right, and that's fair. I mean, you teach yoga philosophy to Western yoga teachers in Southern California. So they're learning themselves.
Yes.
It's not as if we have here in the West lineages that have been around for a long time that we can observe.
No, not yoga lineages for dream interpretation. No.
Yeah.
No.
They may exist for all we know in places like India.
That's right. They could. Yeah.
But I've never heard of them.
I haven't either. I haven't either.
I know Sri Aurobindo, a great yogi, wrote extensive diaries. Maybe in there one would find an emphasis on dream interpretation.
Yes, and same with the mother, right? She, his partner, she also had extensive writing. She may have as well. I know she worked with the body a lot, for sure. She brought the body into it, but I'm not clear on whether she brought dreams in.
So, to the extent that yoga is the psychotherapy, one might say, of the East, is very different from psychotherapeutic traditions in the West.
One main difference is, if we're going to narrow it down to Jung and Patanjali, is Jung in the end didn't believe that liberation was possible. He thought that the sufferings of this world would always continue. But Patanjali has a different outlook to that. He believes that we can arrest suffering through his methodology in particular. And that's a very, very distinct difference between these two outlooks, for sure.